decks against Rug Delver. Remember, Rug is kind of the, I would say the dominant deck of the format. Not to say that it's a one-deck format, but certainly is the deck that you need to beat. Ali is on one of the slower decks in the format. He is playing Bug Control.
Yeah, Rug Delver, I think, and Blue-White Miracles are the two decks that I would kind of playtest and prepare for if I were playing Legacy. And then the other ones, you know, it's kind of a crapshoot of what you can expect. Various control decks, various combo decks, and various aggro decks. So,
yeah. With the format as wide open as Legacy, it's interesting because you can't always prepare for every matchup. There's just too many of them. But I think, so what you end up doing is you have to make a short list of matchups that you need to know something about. And I think that's really what you hit on there is, you know, Miracles and Rug are ones that really, you ought to know what you're doing against those in a Legacy tournament.
There we go. There's the guy we've been waiting for. Ali Aintrazi with a turn 1 Deathrite Shaman.
Yeah, Deathrite has, I think, I'm really interested to see how it plays in Bug here. Bug is a deck that really relies on inevitability, and Deathrite just gives it this really great utility throughout the entire game. I think, you know, which can really answer some of the threats that Bug was a little softer to at the beginning.
And Vince starts off with a Nimble Mongoose.
Yeah, he's going to get wastelanded here. Of note, not that he would even cast it here because he has Deathrite, Ali in his Bug control list does not play Innocent Blood, so he doesn't have a way to remove Nimble Mongoose.
Sure, but he's got the Deathrite Shaman that's going to keep Vince off of Threshold.
Right. He has so he has the Deathrite Shaman to keep him off Threshold. He has 3 Liliana of the Veil. And I think those are the only ways he can answer Nimble Mongoose.
And it's really interesting that Deathrite Shaman here is a 1/2. Yep. I've been told that they gave him the extra point of toughness because of Dark Blast in Modern. Like, they were targeting this as a Modern card and didn't want it to die to Dark Blast.
So Ali couldn't use his Deathrite on... He opts not to eat a land on end step with Deathrite Shaman. He floated a blue when he was wastelanded, presumably for counterspell. But then, yeah. So now both players without lands, Ali's going to Thought Seize DeLorenzo.
Let's see what we got. We do see a Force of Will there, and Vince is thinking about forcing to protect the information.
Yeah, and maybe the card he wants to protect is Fire Ice because it deals with Deathrite Shaman. You know, when he has a Mongoose and without a Deathrite, he'll be in a pretty good spot. Vince with no more lands, and that's probably the most important thing here.
Fire Ice, Force, 2 Dazes, and a Spell Pierce. A lot of counter spells.
Yeah, interestingly enough, so Vince no lands, and I think Ali may wish to take Fire Ice here. If he can, this Deathrite can do some very serious work for him.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right here. No, he goes for the Force of Will.
Well, if Ali has more lands, Force of Will makes sense because Ali can, you know, he has right now 2 mana sources. Maybe if he has, say, a Liliana in his hand, the last thing, that would be the correct play because then he can resolve it next turn and really just take command of the board.
Vince still with no land.
He didn't draw one on that turn. So Ali, remember the Bug control deck is much more of an answer deck than a threat deck. It's only creatures like Deathrite Shaman and Snapcaster Mage. Its win condition is 4 of Jace the Mind Sculptor. Which, in conjunction with 2 life from the loam, and will win the game. He also has a creeping target. So a lot of incidental win cons.
So Ali cracks a Misty Raid Force to get Underground Sea. And we'll see what he's got here as a follow-up. He's going to eat the Tropical Island to make a mana. And goes for a 3-drop. Yes, it is, as you said, Liliana of the Veil.
Right, so that keep there, that Thought Seize explained. Now, Ali was really banking on the fact that Vince might not draw that land because this play would be so strong if Vince didn't hit the land, and indeed it's how it played out.
And Vince just goes for the straight-up scoop there to the Liliana of the Veil. Wow. I don't know what to think about that.
It's a little premature. Not too much. The Liliana was going to get such great card advantage. Remember, Ali, most of his cards 1-for-1 the opponent, they're removal spells. So Liliana plussing is just about the best thing that Ali can hope for. It's like a kill spell every turn in a certain sort of way.
But I think you want to play out for a little bit more information.
You know, I agree. It is a little premature, but yeah, Vince could have, you know, he could hope to draw land into Lightning Bolt, and then he might be okay to get back into the game.
Yeah, Liliana and Deathrite Shaman in themselves not really a significant clock in any kind of way.
So, going into the sideboard for each player, so what Vince is going to want to try to do, he just needs to make sure his deck's a little resilient. He has not really many tools available for him in this matchup. So his sideboard is Krosan Grip, Mind Break Trap, Submerge, Rough Tumble, Surgical Extraction, and then the last one is Seed Time.
Seed Time, the Fact or Fiction killer.
Yeah, Seed Time.
What it was originally printed for.
Yep, it's a time walk that you can only play during your turn if they played a blue spell.
I don't know about its effectiveness in Legacy because it's a 2-mana spell, so it means you probably cast something and they counter and then you Seed Time, or you just pass the turn and wait for them to play like a Brainstorm in your end step.
Well, Ali's not really playing too many blue spells during his opponent's turn. Remember, at the end of the day, Ali's a his deck is all 1-for-1s.
Right.
1-for-1s and Inevitability.
He's got Brainstorm, Force of Will, and Counterspell, but not running...
Vendilion Click, possibly. That's, you know...
Possibly.
That I think those are the only blue spells that really get played during his opponent's turn. Surgical's the most tempting card from Vince. If he knows his opponent's on Bug, he could attempt to Surgical Loams. It's not a plan. I probably wouldn't endorse it. I don't, because I think still, like I said, Ali's main win con is Jace the Mind Sculptor.
And Ali has some different packages he can go with. He's got 3 lands in his sideboard.
Alright, so
you don't see that every day. The Caracas, the Tabernacle at Pendrell Vale, and Bojuka Bog. He's got 2 crop rotations as well, so he can bring in kind of a land tutor package. And he's got the main deck Life from the Loams.
Yeah. I like that I like the package. I don't know if he uses it here. The card I know he'll want is he has an Abrupt Decay in his sideboard. That card, a very good tool against Rug Delver. He also has 2 Hydroblasts in his sideboard, which are okay. They're not great though.
I kind of like the Tabernacle.
Okay,
because he can certainly, you know, Rug Delver is known to have a very fragile mana base.
Right, Rug Delver typically only plays 6 real lands, 3 of each of the duels, and then plays a slew of fetches and wastelands.
So oftentimes you see Rug Delver operating on, you know, 1 to 3 lands at most. Ali's got his own wastelands. He can keep control of the land situation.
Yeah. When you see in this matchup, we've had it seen it a couple times on camera before. It's almost like Ali's goal. One of his main ways to win is when he cracks the 6th wasteland, he wins the game.
That's a lot of wastelands.
Which gives you a sense of the tempo, you know, the tempo that Ali's trying to play with.
And the game plan.
Yeah.
And so with that kind of long game plan, it's defensible for Vince to scoop early because he knows kind of he's already going to lose game 1 at that point. And to win 2 games, he may have to fight through a lot of removal spells and a lot of stuff. So he wanted to preserve the clock. So game 2, Vince on the play starts off with a Wooded Foothills. And Ali has an Underground Sea. Vince plays a Volcanic Island and says go. Ali maybe thought about Brainstorm but decides not to. He's got 2 of them in his hand and it doesn't look like he's got a fetch land. Goes with a Mishra's Factory. Vince has got the end of turn Brainstorm here.
Yeah, typically Brainstorm on end of turn. Sometimes the players don't like. I do like it. This seems pretty strong for him. So what Vince is going to be able to do, because he has that fetch land, he's going to be able to play the Brainstorm to full potential. Especially when it looks like he has a hand that's a little light on action. You know, Brainstorm is at its best right now.
Ali's fanning out. He's got a Jace the Mind Sculptor, Spell Pierce, 2 Brainstorms, Tropical, and another blue card, an Abrupt Decay.
Vince going to fetch for a Tropical.
So what Vince did there was he brainstormed, put the cards back, knew the Tropical he was going to fetch was on top of his library, and just puts it into play and now shuffles.
Right. It's just a little shortcut because, you know, no need to search for a Tropical when you already know where one is.
So now that Vince has come out on the first 2 turns with no plays, is this how he wants to play the game?
Well, ideally on the play, Vince would have had a 1-drop. You know, that much goes without saying in his deck. It's not the only method to attack of win victory for him, but it certainly is the easiest one. What he's going to have to do now is play a little more of a game of protect his threats than you know he would normally be inclined to. Ali's removal is all going to be able to be hit on first because Ali's been given time. So, you know, Vince will look for cards like a Nimble Mongoose will probably be a little bit better. He's going to need to use Spell Pierces rather than to answer things like Ali's Jace. His Spell Pierces
that
might be used to protect his own guys.
Is that telling right there? On the end of the turn, Vince went for a second Brainstorm after packing a fetch land. That's not something you usually see because you have to put 2 of them back and draw another one of them.
Right, especially
so he's digging for something.
If you don't have a fetch land in your hand, that's really just cycling the Brainstorm, which is a move which players typically only do when they're really kind of desperate to find something.
Well, he at least found a Delver, which is a threat, and if he set up the Brainstorm correctly, he should be able to flip it next turn.
Here comes a Wasteland. He's going to take Ali's colored mana down. Ali with a Tropical Island in hand, so he has at least 1 more land.
So in response to the Wasteland, Ali's going to Brainstorm and just kind of make sure his next turn at least is going to be viable.
Yeah, one of the ways that Vince will try to disrupt Ali and protect his threats is by keeping Ali off mana for his larger answers. You know, Vince can't let a Jace resolve, for example, under any condition. That's one of Ali's best ways to continue to find answers. So, what Ali's looking for in these brainstorms is just going to be more lands. And Ali has a loam, so he's going to be able to loam back the Underground Sea.
So Ali doing this, it's kind of giving away that he needs that land.
Yeah, if Vince hasn't boarded in Surgicals, Vince doesn't really have a way to stop this from happening. It means that the Wasteland plan from Vince is no longer really a real one. Ali will continue to hit his land drops.
And as expected, Vince left a Lightning Bolt on the top of his library, flips his Delver Secrets into an Insectile Aberration, and he's going to swing for 3.
So now Vince has his clock going. He's going to have, with Lightning Bolt, he's going to have to protect that clock for quite a while.
Ali dredges the life from the loam on his draw step and hits 2 lands, including a fetch land. That's going to be really important here.
Yeah, he knew he already knew based on his previous brainstorms that Jace was on top of the deck, and I think he just didn't want a second Jace.
Right, he got rid of the Jace, and luckily the other 2 cards he hit were lands.
Right.
That Verdant Catacomb is going to play really nicely with the second Brainstorm Ali still has in his hand.
So one of the clocks, what Ali is really just trying to do is he needs to stay alive until he manages to dredge into a Wasteland. At that point, Ali will be in control of the game, and that can essentially be his win con. So what's important to him right now? Removal spells. He's gonna Loam will means he'll continue to make his land drops, and he's just gonna try to 1-for-1 Vince while staying above 20.
Thoughtseize from Ali meets a Spell Pierce. And a Lightning Bolt at the end of turn.
So Vince definitely kind of putting his foot on the accelerator. The one thing he has to watch out for is he needs to make sure he has 1 answer to Jace. Jace doing even something as little as unsummoning a Delver would be very bad news for him.
So I'm a little surprised that Vince didn't Spell Pierce the life from the loam there, the second one that was getting back 2 lands.
Yeah, that's an interesting play that he wouldn't want to do that. I think he doesn't want to fight the land fight anymore.
So he's just going to try to protect his hand and or creatures.
It's like as these turns go on, Ali's hand is going to continue to get more cards in it. Vince is going to run out of resources because he's only drawing 1 card a turn.
There it is. Tabernacle.
Ali's drawing more. So I think he's saying, can I hold on for 2 more turns? And I think that's what that Spell Pierce was doing. It's protecting his ability to race.
And that makes a lot of sense, especially with that Tarmogoyf follow-up. As a 4-5.
Well, he's going to pass the turn. Rather than go for a Jace or anything like that, just going to try to wait out the game. Remember, Ali still does have an Abrupt Decay in his hand.
And he has to go for it here.
I would agree.
That Tarmogoyf is too big.
So, very abruptly, the Tarmogoyf has been put in the graveyard. Delver brings Ali down to 8. Worth noting is that Ali's deck does not play, outside of the 4 Deathrite Shamans, has no ability to life gain. So even if he gets to the point where he has Vince maybe wastelanded out of the game, Vince can do plays where he sandbags, a fetch land and a pair of lightning bolts or something, and waits to just be like, okay, land, crack, bolt you, or something like that. Because Ali doesn't have Raven's Crime, he can't stop Vince from doing that. So really anything lower than 7, and Ali will have a hard time locking out the game.
Yeah, 6 life, and you gotta start worrying because of the lightning bolts.
Yeah, so at that point, Ali has to do things like Jace Fate Seal, or other plays that he might not want to do as much to keep Vince from killing him.
But he also has to deal with this Insectile Aberration this turn.
Right. Brainstorm, and Vince has boarded in the seed times. So Vince will get the next 2 turns, or get the next turn. That's because this was played on Vince's
so this is
step.
the end of Vince's turn. Ali was going for a Brainstorm, and Vince has brought in the seed times, and that was timely for the seeds.
Yeah, so interesting enough, what the seed time has done here is actually just acted kind of as a free lightning bolt. He gets to untap both his lands, he's going to get to hit again with an Insectile Aberration. Yeah,
and if Ali didn't have a counter for that seed time, he may have drawn one off the Brainstorm. But this has to be over now.
Yeah, that really looks like it caught Ali by surprise.
So he's gonna go to 4 from this attack.
Vince ponders. He curiously is pondering off his red mana as opposed to his green mana. Maybe he's looking for a Tarmogoyf instead of looking for a burn spot.
Either avenue would be pretty devastating here. He may have another red source in his hand, or maybe just another fetch land so he can get either. Vince opts to shuffle off of the Ponder. Didn't see anything he wanted. And now, after the shuffle, he's going to draw a random card. Vince DeLorenzo using Seed Time.
Yeah.
Very timely.
So it's just another card with a great, maybe a lower impact effect, but a great amount of tempo. It's all these cards which are in Raw Delver, these ones that, seem to do not very much, but when you're just slightly ahead in the game, are so strong.
I mean, it's a time walk.
Yeah, I mean, it's this very conditional time walk, but it's like, so what did that card do there? Oh, it was 1 more hit with an Insectile Aberration. 3 more damage. It's really, I like all the cards.
Ali now forced to go for a.
So try to snap the Abrupt Decay.
That's what it is. Looks like it resolved. He's targeted the Abrupt Decay unless Vince has also brought in the Surgical Extractions. Nope, there we go. So that's now exiled.
So
flashback.
He's cleared the board now, which is where he wants to be. Like we said before, there's still an interesting dynamic where 4 is a very small number and Ali doesn't have a Deathrite in place. He doesn't have a way to get higher than 4.
And right now, Ali also does not have control over Vince's lands. He has Life from the Loam, but he hasn't hit a Wasteland yet.
Right, so he's going to need to stick something like a Jace down, and then if he can get his Jace down, then he's probably fine, unless Vince right now already has the points of burn.
Life? No.
And Liliana of the Veil.
The other Planeswalker.
Yeah. So Liliana, between Liliana and Life from the Loam, Ali will be able to fairly shortly empty Vince's hand.
So right, no Raven's Crime, but this is a way for him to try to attack Vince's hand.
And force pitching Pierce from Vince DeLorenzo. What I've liked is that Ali has managed to bait 2 counter spells, both of which would have gotten a Jace out of Vince's hand. With, I think, a card that's less important to the matchup than Jace.
Yeah, but from Vince's standpoint, he certainly can't let a Liliana of the Veil stick.
Right, that's not to say Vince is playing this wrong. Vince is playing exactly how he should be, how he needs to.
But Ollie's being patient.
Ollie's patience is very good. And
he's got a counter spell for the Force of Will. So now we're going to see Liliana resolve and go for the discard. Vince discards a Seed Time. Ollie discards Life from the Loam. Fire Ice, 2 damage to you. Ollie is now at 2. He is dead to any burn spell in Vince's deck. Lightning Bolt, Forked Bolt, Fire Ice.
Right, and my guess would be the Forked Bolts are no longer in the deck, so we're looking at about 5 outs for Vince. Remember, Ollie does play some counter spells. We saw him use the actual card Counter Spell. So his defenses against that are going to be, if he's brought them in, Hydroblasts, or a Snapcaster. He has a second counter spell in his deck. He also has a Snapcaster Mage. 2 more Snapcaster Mages. So if Ollie can get one of those in his hand, he's probably going to never take down the mana for it until he's set up a wasteland. You know, he'll slowly waste away Vince's lands, Liliana away Vince's hand, really just grind.
A lot of tension here. Ollie Aintrazi sitting at 2 life against a Rug Delver deck.
I think the bug deck's I really like the bug deck. You know, in this situation, for example, I think Ollie is favored to be able to do this. It's one of those style decks where it really doesn't have a distinct way to win. Its way to win is just to keep answering things and guarantee its ability to continue answering.
And he's got the answer right now. That Tarmogoyf doesn't really matter against the Liliana of the Veil.
Exactly.
The best that Vince can really hope for creature-wise is to draw running creatures and try to force Liliana out of loyalty counters. But that Snapcaster standing by for potential chump block duty as well could mess up that math. So there we go. Snapcaster goes on the offensive.
There's nothing with haste in Vince's deck.
Right.
So it's
no flash, no haste. So for the time being, safe to attack. Oh, off the top, Lightning Bolt. Do you have it?
See, as I say, he miracles a Lightning Bolt.
So Ollie is going to...
He does have Snapcaster counterspell. So no, Ollie gets to live to fight another day.
And increases his board presence.
So now he has Vince on a 4-turn clock. Ollie actually has no... I don't believe he has another counterspell in his hand yet. So Vince now down to 4 outs. The 3 remaining Lightning Bolts and the other remaining Fire Ice. Remember, he also plays Ponders and Brainstorms, so that number is certainly, though it's only 4 spells, it'll play more like 7.
Ollie remembers to activate his Mishra's Factory. Plays a second one to potentially pump. Vince reorganizes his land, remembers that he has Wasteland, and takes it out now.
That'll take, that actually will take 1 turn off, that'll add a turn to the clock. Because now it'll be 4-6-6, maybe not.
Ooh, Deathrite Shaman. So now Vince has
1 turn really.
One turn to draw a burn spell before the Deathrite Shaman's life gain takes over. It's a Nimble Mongoose. That's not going to do it.
Ollie, with the help of Deathrite Shaman, his only life gain card, will be able to put this game out of reach of Lightning Bolt.
And he's going to go ahead and do it now.
Yep, eating away Mongoose. Ollie's at 4, and with that should have the game.
He's going to attack for 6 here. Vince drops to 5 and has no real outs. Takes a look anyway. So he's left the Fork Bolt in. He just drew a Fork Bolt. he really has to use it defensively now. Flips it on the table. And yeah, splits it up 1 point on each Snapcaster. So it's going to buy him some time, but also each turn this goes on, Ollie can gain 2 more life. So he's not really buying time. Ollie opts to dredge his life from the loam. Casts it. He's going to pick up some lands. Pump up Liliana's loyalty, just to have her ready to go in case another creature drops. And getting back the Mishra's Factory, that'll keep the pressure on.
That'll actually make it lethal this turn. You can go lethal this turn when he decides to swing. You can activate Mishra's Factory, pump, eat a card in the graveyard for 5.
Absolutely. So during the standard open, we saw Ollie not close it out with the Kessig Wolf run. This time he does close it out.
Remembering the damage potential of his own lands. There's no card in Vince's hand, so this is pretty safe. Vince concedes the game.
Well, that was another good one. A very good back and forth in that match.
So what I like here is we kind of have this running theme. Our theme saying Legacy is going to be, the disassembling of Rug Delver by various different decks.
Well, it's the top dog, so
to be honest, I wouldn't. If that was the theme, I wouldn't mind.
If your deck isn't at least hoping to take down Rug Delver, if not, favorably matched against it, you probably should rethink your strategy.
Right. And Rug Delver, so now we've seen it 0-2 on camera today. Obviously, still a great deck. Its nut draws are very powerful.
Well, the first round was Bug Delver. Lost.
That was Bug Delver.
But certainly Delver of Secrets not having a great day. Vince puts his seed times on the table. That was, it almost got there. Yeah. It was very, very close.
I think he really caught Ollie off guard with it that game, and was really close to stealing the game on the back of seed time. So we're going to move over to what should be a fun battle here between Ali Aintrazi, who to no one's surprise is playing an Esper control deck.
Shaheen, you mean? Shaheen Sarani.
I said Shaheen Sarani. Apologies. Versus Stephen Green, who's on High Tide. So High Tide, kind of a player after my own heart here. I also a very big High Tide fan. This matchup, in my opinion, I don't know. I personally really think I like playing it from the High Tide side of the table.
Yeah, but Stephen Green, I know him personally. He's an acquisitions member of Star City Games, and he's not the most experienced with this deck. So we'll see if he can pilot it.
We'll run it through. We'll try to run through it. So he has a Ponder here. Ponder into Tide Ponder Fetch Land. He does have a Spiral and a Force of Will.